So in this segment, we're going to be discussing a Channel 4 piece that's talking about the problems that Brexit has caused with pharmacies. Pharmacies are really important in the UK because when your doctor prescribes something to you, you have to go to the pharmacy. I don't know how it works in other parts of the world, but I think typically this is how it goes. And I went to my local pharmacy to do some journalism, and I spoke to the pharmacist, and what she said to me was that she doesn't deal with over-the-counter medicines, so stuff you can buy, but the prescription stuff is hard to get, like inhalers. She said they were waiting for inhalers for months now, which is terrifying if you're an asthmatic. The other thing she said is the dosage, so they're struggling to get the right kind of dosage for people, and so they're kind of trying to sort that out in other ways, which isn't ideal because dosages are really important for people on certain medications, and an increase or decrease can affect them really adversely, or even a different kind of medicine, which is meant to kind of solve the same issue, can have really adverse effects. So this is really, really bad for the UK. Like this is awful. So we'll cut to the Channel 4 clip.
Don't be deceived by the packed shelves at Calverton Pharmacy in Luton. Staff here are finding it increasingly difficult to source everyday medicines.
These are all trays waiting for medicines for patients who've been waiting patiently for a period of time, some for a few days, some for weeks, because of the huge supply problems we're having with the whole range of medicines.
Those shortages include HRT, antibiotics, blood pressure tablets and painkillers.
The antibiotics thing is really bad because it's not just like doctors who prescribe antibiotics, it's dentists as well, and they are, when you have bad fevers and infections and things, that's where I think you need antibiotics, and they are generally not prescribed anyways. Doctors have cut back on giving antibiotics to people because of the risk of like superbacteria and stuff like that, but if your doctor prescribes them to you and you can't get them, that's a nightmare scenario.
Mahesh Shah, who owns 3 pharmacies in Luton, says supply and manufacturing problems have been caused by a combination of factors, including Brexit, the war in Ukraine and the aftermath of the pandemic.
If we are unable to supply these, there are very significant consequences for patients.
What are those consequences?
Well, basically for patients it's ill health, the conditions are not in control, they could end up being in hospital.
Mahesh Shah is far from alone in his battle to source vital medicines. A survey by the Pharmaceutical Services Negotiating Committee asked more than 8,000 pharmacists if they'd experienced problems with medical supplies. 92% said yes. 87% said it was a risk to patient health, and 84% said they'd experienced aggression from patients as a result.
And it's not the pharmacist's fault that they're having struggles trying to source people's medication. I have read there are some minor shortages around Europe, the rest of Europe. That's typically because of the war in Ukraine. But if you think we're trying to import raw materials to make medicines, or trying to import medicines from EU countries, it goes to an extra layer, so it's much more difficult to get them in. So it's just kind of a stupid thing that the government have done here. And before kind of we left the EU, before the transition period was over, pharmacies were asking the government, what's the plan here? What are we going to do? And the government said, don't worry about it, we've got a plan. But I think the government are just turning around and saying to them, look, your private industry, sort it out. This is on you. The free market will deal with it. But the free market can't deal with everything. The government has a role to play, and Brexiteers don't really understand that. Or at least libertarians don't.
It's anxiety, not anger, that Vicky Doherty is all too familiar with.
Can I pick up a prescription, please? Date of birth?
Despite depending on life-saving drugs for thyroid and autoimmune conditions, Vicky regularly has to wait for her prescriptions, sometimes for up to 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye. It can have a huge impact when you don't take it every day at the same time.
What happens when you don't take it?
My anxiety increases, it's the fatigue, the tiredness, my body aches, I get cramps. You just feel run down, you don't feel well, you don't feel like you can tackle the day. It's just horrendous.
So it's saving your life?
Absolutely.
The department.
It'll further add to the worker shortage if people are ill as well. So the government just haven't thought this one through. And, I'm lucky that there is a pharmacy near my house, about a 5-minute walk. But if that one wasn't there, because it's relatively new, it's only been there for about 6 years. If that one wasn't there, I would have to, it'd be a half an hour walk or a 10-minute car journey if you've got a car to get to the next pharmacy. And if you're an older person, you struggle. Normally they take the bus. I mean, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to the pharmacy, and if your local pharmacy can't get you the medication because of the shortages, you might have to go further out. So it's just a stupid thing the government have done here, and they've screwed over so many people. And I hope people kind of can see the damage this is doing. This is Brexit in a nutshell. Honestly, it's just causing absolute supply chain chaos in the UK. And Brexiters will say, "Oh, other countries are having problems, this and that," but they're never having problems as bad as us. And you can argue that, well, most EU nations are together. They're connected by physical borders, but Ireland isn't. Ireland's further out than the UK, and they don't have a lot of the problems that we have over there. So it's just a stupid thing. And if you want to watch the rest of this clip from Channel 4, it'll probably be a good watch. I'll leave it in the description, as I do for everything pretty much. But I despair, I really despair at the way the country's gone. And, no one, or I say no one, only trade experts really knew the damage Brexit could do here. And we are seeing it do so much damage. There's a reason why they were kind of screaming on Twitter at people, this is not a good idea. You don't want to do this. Make sure you plan this stuff out properly if you are. And the government are like, yeah, cool story, bro. Next one. Have you seen the channel crossings? That's pretty much what's happened here. It's just cultural nonsense when this is impacting so many people. It's just tragic. I hope people kind of see the damage that the government have done here with regards to the supply chain problems. It's affecting everyone. I'll be honest, it's impacting everyone. And I do worry for these pharmacies, because I think people will start to get more and more violent if they can't get the medicines they need. And it's not fair for the staff, who generally are really helpful. Especially as we struggle to get a GP appointment. Sometimes I'll just go to the pharmacy and ask, I've got these kind of problems. Is there anything you can give me for it? Because getting a GP appointment is a nightmare. So I can't imagine a scenario where the pharmacist's like, "Oh, I would recommend you this, but we don't have any," or "I can't give you anything for it. I wish I could." I'm just frustrated at the state of this country, honestly. Everything is broken, and this is another example of broken Britain. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.